today's Top Boxing News.
Okay, we'll start with this, what I consider to be an unusual exchange.
Unusual is right.
My previous video based on Sky Nicholson's continued pursuit of an Amanda Serrano fight, I talked about the upcoming Tiara Brown fight in passing. Only in passing, I didn't spend a lot of time on it, since the crux of the video was Sky's continued pursuit of Amanda. And to that, a guy who goes by the name Justin Credible, he said, "Bro, you are a clown. Clown channel, clown talking points. I came here because you called out Ryan on the cheating, but it's obvious outside of that one instance you do not give the black fighters their props.
What's he talking about?
You want them to stand there and get mollywopped like Mason did and have short careers instead of boxing."
Last I checked, Sky Nicholson is the mobile one. Last I checked, Sky's the one that likes to move around, and she's a white woman. What are you talking about?
Typical Jules BS, hyping up the light-skinned female fighters, won't ever give the dark-skinned fighters their props.
Wait, in a video about Sky Nicholson pursuing Amanda Serrano, what you want me to do is give the dark-skinned fighters their props.
So he must have left me this comment because in the video I said that Tiara Brown has spent about as much time calling out Sky as Sky has spent calling out Amanda, but that's hardly derogatory, and that's a statement of fact.
She has.
She was calling out Sky Nicholson when Sky was just a prospect, fresh out of the amateur. She's been calling her out long before she won the WBC title. That's just a statement of fact, which is hardly derogatory, though I'd wager he's in his tits because I don't have Tiara winning the fight. That if and when Sky and Tiara fight, I think Sky's gonna outpoint her.
Which is hardly derogatory.
So are you expecting me to forecast the outcome of a fight based on your personal preferences, your biases?
You claim that I'm biased towards light-skinned fighters or fair-skinned fighters. No, you're biased towards dark-skinned fighters.
And you're expecting me, a complete stranger online, to forecast the outcome of a fight based on what are your biases. It's not that I'm partial towards Sky Nicholson, because I'm not. I've often described her style as anticlimactic and boring, and everybody that follows this channel knows how much I don't like pure boxers.
But it's not that I'm partial towards Sky. It's that you're partial towards Tiara and pretty much every fighter that looks like you.
Which is fine for you. But why do you expect me to do that? You think I'm picking Sky Nicholson to win the fight because I'm Australian?
I'm not.
I'm picking Sky Nicholson to win the fight because I'm Caucasian?
I'm not.
And do you think that after making a baseless accusation like this one, I'm supposed to scramble to dispel it?
I'm not.
So is this the part where I'm supposed to run down an itemized list of fighters, the same race as Tiara Brown, to prove that I'm not what you say I am?
You think far too much of yourself, sweetheart.
Because I ain't gonna do none of that shit to make you and your fragile little ego feel better. You project your own partiality onto others in an effort to seem virtuous when you're the biased one.
You're telling on yourself.
You're expecting me to forecast the outcome of a fight based on Tiara Brown's skin tone.
Seriously?
There are a lot of people like this, just like this guy, within the boxing sphere, and I say it all the time. There is a place for tribalism in all of organized sports, whether it's at the gate or at the box office. But outside of there, and in a conversation like this one, it has no place.
Moreover, if this is the lens that you view boxing through, what do you expect me to do? And anybody else that isn't the same race or from the same place as you?
What's our logic supposed to be, since we can see what yours is?
It's not about pugilism, it's about pigment for you.
Which is fine for a lesser mind like yours, but then you don't really need to talk to me or anybody else outside of that circle, your circle, because you've already decided that you're gonna stay on code, and what matters most to you is not pugilism, it's pigment.
Okay, then me and you ain't got nothing to talk about.
What fragile egos these lesser minds have, expecting strangers online to fall in line with what is their own partiality? What are you, a 5-year-old?
Because if I were doing what you claim I'm doing, at the very worst, that would make me no different from you.
Stones in a glass house, my friend. Stones in a glass house. Have you ever heard that saying? So how does it work? You get to be partial, you get to be biased, you're staying on code, but if anybody else were to do that, you're gonna get upset about it?
Rules for thee, but not for me.
You're giving it away. That when you try to castigate someone like me for partiality, you're really just telling on yourself, projecting your own inadequacies onto me, You're the partial one, as I am neither Caucasian or Australian.
I'm supposed to be partial to Sky Nicholson that I've called boring on so many occasions.
Must not be paying attention, which really comes as no surprise to me. You cannot see past yourself to realize what is going on.
Stupid.
You're just a stupid person saying stupid things because you lead with emotion, like many stupid people do.
It's only little kids that get to lead with emotion, crying for their baba.
But you have many adults with the impulse control and temperament of a child. You lack the capacity to hold a conversation with me, and I won't hesitate to remind you of that to spare your feelings.
Give a damn how you feel.
Frankly, I think you're too stupid to even process what I said this entire segment. But then again, it's not you I'm trying to get through. I'm just putting you on display.
You're a case study.
You're just someone I can make an example out of.
You can't fix stupid.
There's no getting through to you. The saving grace is, I'm not trying to. Just sitting back laughing my ass off at your morbid excuse for morality.
Moron.
Just incredible. That's cute. Did you make that up yourself? In men's lightweight news, more on the impromptu Floyd S. Schofield versus Shakur Stevenson fight that Floyd S. Schofield says is a done deal.
Crawford.
Floyd S. Schofield says, a deal has been agreed for a Shakur S. Stevenson fight. The fight was mentioned when Shakur's other target, William Zapadia, was ruled out. The Mexican injured his hand, supposedly, preventing a potential February 22nd fight from going ahead. It was a massive setback since it was the second consecutive time that Shakur had seen this fight not go ahead. His initial fight with Do Cordinia was also called off due to Shakur's hand injury. However, Golden Boy Promotions' Oscar De La Hoya initially criticized suggestions over a Schofield fight.
Crawford.
Oscar was against it. Oscar basically looks at Floyd S. Schofield as a prospect, which he is.
But Floyd Schofield wants it. His father wants it, so give him what he wants.
De La Hoya made some comments during his Clapback Thursday segment where he questioned Shakur's desire to face Floyd S. Schofield. The latter is only 22 years old. De La Hoya suggested there were other big names out there for Shakur, such as Frank Martin.
You mean the guy who already withdrew from a fight with Shakur last year? That guy?
He could not understand why Shakur would want to take on a lesser-known opponent who did not have any world champion experience.
Because Floyd volunteered. And if he didn't take him up on his offer, what would the narrative be then? That he's ducking Floyd Schofield?
It now appears that the Schofield fight will go ahead. Floyd indicated a deal has been agreed, with Shakur also stating he has signed an agreement. Told you all. Done deal. Thank you for being a man of your word. Now let's put on a great fight, as Schofield said. I signed a contract today for it, but I don't be believing everything I see on social media. Who knows what's what? All I can do is my part, and I'll believe it when I see it, Shakur has stated. Nevertheless, this fight will come under criticism for the following reasons. Shakur has repeatedly said he wants to fight the best names in a division. He has previously been linked with fights against Gervonta Davis and Vasyl Lomachenko. However, none of these fights have gone through, leaving the three-weight world champion to pursue other targets.
Tell the whole story, why don't you? Gervonta Davis doesn't want to fight Shakur because if he did, they'd be fighting. The same applies to Vasyl Lomachenko. Whether you like him or not, you want to give him a pass or not, one way or another, if Loma wanted to fight Shakur, then they'd be fighting.
Other names in and around the division could have made more sense. There is every opportunity to run things back with Edwin De Los Santos.
You think anybody wants to see that fight again?
Stevenson's victory over De Los Santos was heavily criticized as he was boxing on the back foot for most of the fight.
Yeah. And you think people want to see a rematch?
Oscar De La Hoya mentioned Frank Martin, not mentioning that Frank has moved up to 140 pounds and he's ruled himself out of any fights at 135. That narrative that he could face Frank Martin after he had initially been close to reaching an agreement with him, talks broke down as Martin withdrew to pursue a Gervonta Davis fight instead, and now he's campaigning as a super lightweight. There is also an opportunity to take on George Cambodia, but George Cambodia recently signed to Matchroom.
He's coming off a knockout loss to Vasyl Lomachenko right now. He hasn't rebounded off that loss yet. Be honest, how many of you wanted to see Stevenson versus Kambosos under those circumstances? Is that a good fight?
You know it isn't. Now, a fight against Floyd S. Schofield may not be enough to prepare Shakur for a future Tank Davis fight, As Schofield has no world title experience, his current boxing record is 18-0. He has not faced any big names yet, but since Shakur is returning from a hand injury, perhaps it is wise for him not to take on too much. A win over a Schofield could set up a fight with his WBC mandatory challenger, William Zepeda. Those wins could then secure a huge unification against Tank Davis.
No, they can't.
That's not the point. For a three-division champion like Shakur Stevenson, a blue-chip prospect, a standout amateur, and a seasoned pro in the paid ranks, the ideal fight is actually the Gervonta Davis fight, but he's not had any luck in that department, and there's nothing anyone can do about it. If there is a fight that Shakur should be in, it should be that one.
And everything pales in comparison.
It was supposed to be Zepeda, but all of a sudden he's injured. Floyd Schofield volunteered. Floyd Schofield asked for this. And if Shakur Stevenson expressed any aversion to fighting Floyd, you know what people would say. They would say that he's scared of Floyd, and he's ducking Floyd.
He's got to fight somebody.
So why not the guy who volunteered? Floyd Schofield, who is promoted by Oscar De La Hoya. Oscar, who said, Floyd Schofield is officially the most badass prospect fighter today. The kid officially accepts the fight. Shakur Stevenson, let's go. It's so quiet all of a sudden.
Remember, Oscar De La Hoya advised Floyd Schofield against this.
This isn't what he wanted for his fighter, but this is what his fighter wanted for himself. Why does Floyd and his father, why do they want to take on a fight like this that they so obviously are not ready for?
The money.
Take Turkey Al Sheikh, Riyadh season, and those big Saudi paydays out of it, and I doubt that this fight would be happening.
Is it happening?
Well, according to Shakur Stevenson, it is. Shakur Stevenson, who said, finally you're talking some sense. Him first, then I knock Zepeda off next. Sorry in advance, my guy. You are a legend to me in the boxing ring.
He was talking to Oscar.
I can't help but maintain a healthy level of skepticism as to whether or not this fight will take place, because American boxing and American boxers have been largely disappointing as of late, and thus, I expect to be disappointed. I expect to see a lot of talk, but not a lot of substance.
Just a lot of hype.
Can you blame me? These verbal spats that we see between boxers, usually Americans, seldom result in a fight.
On social media.
Twitter wars, the back and forth, so that when one is young, as Floyd Schofield, and as inexperienced, offers himself up to stand in for William Zepeda, well, I've got to see it to believe it.
He's willing to gamble his O against Shakur Stevenson. I don't like his chances, but he likes the money, which is likely why they're doing it if they do end up doing it.
These are bad optics for Jaron Ennis, who is the talk of the town right now, and not in a good way, because here you have a greenhorn, an inexperienced young kid in Floyd Schofield rolling the dice, where Jaron Ennis couldn't be bothered to do that with Virgil Ortiz?
Bitch.
And then tack on that what is basically a prospect is standing in his place. Xander Zayas has accepted the fight that Jaron Ennis didn't want.
Very bad optics.
Rick Glaser is milking this for all it's worth, taking another shot at Boots Ennis, saying, look at Boots Ennis' record. Has never fought an A fighter, won an interim title, and was elevated to world champion. Some call it email champion. When Terrence Crawford was moving up the junior middle, then makes up a lie about the weight, backing out of his first real opponent in Virgil Ortiz, Ennis has talent, but I think he lacks in character. I believe when the going gets rough, the real Boots Ennis will come out, and it won't be a good look. Remember this post.
There are a good number of ulterior motives and agendas against Jaron Ennis, but there is also a general feeling of disappointment that this promising fighter is in no way, shape, or form what he was made out to be. But why was so much thought of him in the first place?
Why was such grandiose expectations laid at his feet to begin with? What did he do that was so great?
Like I said, there are some people that have their ulterior motives against Jaron Ennis, but if he's fallen from grace with virtually everyone, it's because some put him on a pedestal prematurely.
All I saw in Jaron Ennis was a good fighter. No semblance of a great one. That's something you have to prove.
He never did that.
I didn't have high hopes. Big expectations for this fighter, like so many others did. They're the ones that are upset. They're the ones that are mad. They're the ones that are disappointed. They so easily crown these unproven.
Well, every unbeaten up-and-comer from America is the next this and the next that.
They only build you up to break you down, like they are now breaking down, tearing down. Jaron Ennis. I don't know that I consider this an according to Hoyle duck.
No?
You often hear it said, how do you avoid someone who's not in your way? How do you avoid someone that isn't in your division? Virgil Ortiz is at 154. Jaron Ennis is at 147, and he wants to unify there. That's what he said. Oh, Team Ennis didn't make it easy on themselves, speaking in codes and speaking in riddles and saying things that weren't true.
Every bit of criticism they're getting now, they brought upon themselves.
But if you are one of these people that is disappointed in Jaron Ennis, that actually has more to do with you than him. Because for you to be disappointed, you are the one who expected better, which means you're the one that put him on a pedestal. And for having done what?
Nothing.
How many people did you see in the last year, the last two, accuse Terrence Crawford of avoiding this guy that's done absolutely nothing? What it took for Virgil Ortiz and all of this to start. It took that for you to realize?
For you to come to your senses?
This is a guy who's going to have a hell of a hard time selling his next fight. Whatever momentum he had, it's starting to dissipate. He has fallen out of public favor.
Fallen from grace.
Don't let Xander Zayas win that Ortiz fight, if it does happen. Don't let a goddamn prospect beat the guy that you just avoided, because then you look even worse.
They're mad at themselves because they believed in you. I didn't.
They're mad at themselves because they thought that you were going to go on to be the best thing smoking.
I didn't. Because I'm smarter than them, and I'm hip to you. I always have been.
No, I don't think there's anything wrong with Jaron Ennis pursuing unification matches and undisputed at his own prescribed weight. There's nothing wrong with that.
And irrespective of what did or didn't happen with Terrence Crawford or what did or didn't happen with Virgil Ortiz, that's not a green light for those champions to avoid Jaron Ennis. They need to fight.
They need to prove themselves. But here's the plot twist. So does he. He always did. You're the ones who acted like he was the best thing smoking.
You're the ones that got ahead of yourselves.
He never proved he was the best in show. At 147, in the absence of Terrence Crawford, I'm of the opinion that he has yet to prove that. So let him do it.
I'm not against that.
I am not against unification matches.